Hello everyone, and welcome to this presentation, Understanding Costs, Budgets and Timelines, all key components of your self-build. I'm Mike Cruickshank, and I've been involved with the self-build sector for over 45 years. I have self-built twice and have helped literally thousands of self-builders achieve their dream of self-building. It's something that I'm extremely passionate about, as I know firsthand the immeasurable feeling of satisfaction and pride you get on completing your self-build. So what stops people from self-building? Well, generally it's one of the following 4 points. They either don't know how to find a plot, don't know how to work out a budget and costs, don't know how to organize the build, or they don't know how to finance the build. Well, in my presentation today, I'm going to concentrate on costs, budgets and timelines. Formulating an accurate budget is absolutely critical. You need to establish what it is as early on in the process as you can, and then stick rigidly to it. How much you have to spend will obviously dictate the size of the house you can afford to build, and an architect will need to know what your budget is before he can commence drawing up sketch proposals for your consideration. Preparing a list of must-haves and would-likes, if budget will allow items, will help you prioritize where you spend your budget. So how do you go about preparing a budget cost? Well, there are a number of ways, but initially you would typically start with pounds per square foot or per square meter. Online cost calculators are available that will give you cost per square foot per square meter. But please bear in mind the costs are average costs, and self-build is anything but average. You can make contact with a number of local contractors and ask them for rates or indicative costs for their particular trade. If you have some sketch proposal drawings of your house design, that will greatly assist the contractors and allow them to be more accurate with their costings. Once you have drawings prepared, you can, at very reasonable cost, get estimators online to give you detailed costings for labour and materials, which you can then use to compare against quotations you receive from contractors. And if your intention is to purchase materials directly from suppliers, then the quantities on their takeoff would be invaluable to you. Their costings tend to be more accurate than the online cost calculators, as they take into account regional variations, and having carried out something like 70,000 self-build costings, they have a vast knowledge pool to draw from. You can engage the services of an RICS registered quantity surveyor who can prepare either an itemized schedule of costs, or if you have full detailed drawings and a specification, a full bill of quantities. The bill of quantities is a very detailed document which quantifies everything required for the build, and it would be sent to the contractors you're requesting quotes from, and they would price the document accordingly. Don't forget to include for all costs, including utility connection charges, professional fees, so that would be for architects, engineer, legal costs, quantity surveyor costs, etc., local authority submission fees, warranty costs, mortgage broker fees, and insurances. You should always include a minimum of 10% contingency to cover any unexpected costs. Here are some top tips in using your budget wisely. Don't rush things in the early stages. It's very easy to get overwhelmed by the sheer volume of decisions you have to make in the early stages of a self-build, but take your time. Research and carefully consider matters before coming to a decision. Remember the expression, decide in haste, repent at leisure. Opt for a simple house design. The simpler the house design, the more cost-effective it will be to build. That's why the major house builders build fairly simple house designs based on interconnected rectangular boxes. Now, I'm not saying for 1 second you should all be building bland house designs. In fact, most self-builders do anything but being aware of how house design can have major implications on build costs is key. Consider a standard supplier's design. Many of the package companies like timber frame or SIP suppliers have standard house types that have been designed to maximize the benefits of their particular construction method and can be worth consideration. The designs can generally be amended to suit your particular preferences, and their architectural charges will typically be lower than if engaging the services of an architect. Select your preferred construction method with care. The vast majority of self-builders will build using one of four construction methods: traditional brick and block, timber frame, SIPs, or ICF. Your house design may dictate which method is best suited for your particular design. For example, a house with a basement would be best suited for either traditional brick and block or ICF, whereas if sustainability is high on your list of preferences, then timber frame or SIPs may be a preferred solution. Always have secure, dry on-site storage. Having secure on-site storage to ensure materials you've paid for do not disappear off-site is imperative. High-value items like windows and doors, kitchen units, sanitary ware, etc., are all very attractive to the less scrupulous in our society. Dry storage for materials that cannot immediately be loaded into the wind and watertight shell of the house need to be catered for. I have lost count of the number of pallets of plaster that I have seen over the years be completely wasted due to water damage. And of course, there are added costs in skip and landfill charges to dispose of the damaged sheets. Minimize any changes to the plan. Making changes to layouts should be done at drawing stage before any works commence on site. Looking over the drawings in detail is imperative, and getting the architect to amend the drawings will always be a cheaper option than making changes on site. Common things often not considered are door swings, positions of power points, light switches, lighting positions, and radiators. Tradesmen hate having to make amendments to work they have already carried out and will charge a premium for the changes. Be aware the more glazing means more cost. As windows and external doors are a high cost item, the higher the percentage of external wall area the windows and external doors occupy, the higher your costs will be. Windows and external doors can be manufactured in timber, PVCU, timber with aluminium clad externally, PVCU aluminium clad externally, or all aluminium. And they can be double or triple glazed, and all will have different price points. The simpler the design the windows and the less opening sashes there are, the more cost effective they will be. And similarly, with external doors, sliding doors or French doors, possibly with fixed sidelights if wide openings are required, will be more cost effective than bifold doors. Glazed gables are very much in vogue at present, and whilst they look spectacular, provide fantastic solar gain if south facing, and bathe the home in natural light, they do come at a cost. Avoid top-end specifications. If you're working to a tight budget, then you need to cut your cloth accordingly. I often see self-builders spend an inordinate amount of money in selecting top-of-the-range kitchen units or sanitary ware, when small fortunes could be saved by selecting a perfectly functional and attractive middle-of-the-road specification. Consider self-project managing or engaging a project manager. The name self-build automatically conjures up the image of the self-builder actually carrying out some or all of the work themselves. But the reality is that very few actually go down this route. The vast majority will either self-project manage or engage the services of a project manager. Before deciding to go down the self-project managing route, do not underestimate the time it will swallow up, which will always be more than you think. Also, carefully consider if you have the relevant skills and knowledge to successfully carry out the role. Engaging the services of a project manager can be a good compromise, as they will bring knowledge to the project, which can preempt problems before they occur, and they will have a pool of subcontractors that they have worked with before to obtain quotes for the various trades involved. Become competent at comparing costs and negotiating. No two contractors will price on a like-for-like basis, so you need to become proficient at comparing apples for apples so that you make an informed decision on who to place your business with. Some contractors will put in low provisional sums for elements like kitchen units or sanitary ware, ceramic tiling, just to make their price look more attractive, whereas some will include realistic provisional sums, which will make them look more expensive. Your skill will be in flushing out these variances and in negotiating with the contractors. Always, but always ask for a discount. All suppliers and contractors have some wiggle room, and you should always ask for a discount. When working in the timber frame sector for 26 years, it used to amaze me the number of people who accepted our first offering and never asked for a discount. I'm a firm believer that if you don't ask, you don't get. Now, you may not get huge savings, but collectively, over a lot of suppliers and contractors, the sum saved can be considerable. How you go about getting the house built. How you go about getting the house built will impact on timescales. Self-building in the true sense of doing some or all of the works yourself, or by calling in favours from friends and relatives, will generally always take longer, followed by self-project managing, employing a project manager, or getting a main contractor to carry out all the works. Availability of funds and cash flow. Ensuring you have funds to pay suppliers and contractors at the appropriate time is fundamental in ensuring there are no delays in the building operations. Payment terms need to be agreed and written into the contract between you and the contractor prior to any work commencing. There's nothing that will upset a contractor more than payment terms not being adhered to. What building method to use? The build method you use will generally dictate how quickly the house can be completed. For example, timber frame and SIPs construction, which are modern methods of construction with components being made up in the factory, will typically have a reduced build program, as they can literally be made wind and watertight in days. Traditional brick and block construction will take longer to get to wind and watertight stage, as all the works are carried out on site. Availability of experienced labour. Not all areas of the country have suitably experienced contractors for certain construction methods. For example, in Scotland, timber frame is by far the most common construction method used, so most contractors will be familiar with that construction method. Whereas in certain parts of England, timber frame is not as common, and traditional brick and block construction would be the dominant construction method, which most contractors would be familiar with. The time of year you are building. The time of year you are building can have major impact on timescales. Prolonged periods of frost can halt traditional brick and block or ICF construction methods, as can snow and heavy rainfall. With timber frame and SIPs, high winds tend to be the only weather conditions that will delay the erection, as panels become like sails and catch the wind, and cranes will not operate above certain wind speeds. The complexity of design. The more complex the design is, the longer it will take to build, particularly if non-standard external finishes are incorporated in the design, as either specialist contractors have to be brought in or contractors not familiar with the detailing will take longer to carry out the works. The average self-build will take about 9 months. The overall time for self-build from securing a plot to completing is typically about 2 years. Organizing finance, getting plans drawn up, obtaining planning consent, building regulation approval, and getting quotes for works will take longer than actually getting the house built. Now, if anyone would like a copy of my presentation, then please contact me via my advice hub. Thanks very much for listening. In a moment, I'll be taking some of your questions, so please do continue to post them using the question and answer system, and I'll get through as many of them as possible.